So let's start with a paradox.
Okay.
If you strip away all the history, all the hype around gold, it's, well, it's honestly pretty boring.
Right. It's just a transition metal, atomic number 79. It's soft, it's heavy, and it's incredibly lazy, chemically speaking.
It just sits there. And yet for thousands of years, this one inert, shiny rock has driven humanity into a state of, absolute collective madness.
It really is the central contradiction, isn't it? We've built entire civilizations on it, and we've destroyed civilizations for it.
And that's really the mission for this deep dive. We're not tracking the price of bullion here or giving out investment advice.
No.
We're looking at what we're calling the golden madness. We've pulled together a whole stack of historical case studies, some economic papers.
And they all track these very specific psychological failures, these systemic breakdowns that are all caused by gold.
What really stands out when you look at these sources is that gold acts less like a currency and more like a mirror.
That's a great way to put it. It just reflects our own worst instincts, our misunderstandings about value, about scarcity, about power.
So today, we have 5 stories to unpack that. We've got the wealthiest man in history breaking an entire city.
We've got a war started over a chair.
A Nobel Prize winner who got completely fooled by the ocean, and a really weird biological twist that might just ruin the gold market forever.
Oh, that biological twist is going to change how you look at your jewelry. I guarantee it.
But we have to start with the big one. You can't talk about gold madness without talking about Mansa Musa.
The 14th century ruler of the Mali Empire? I mean, historians and economists still argue about his net worth, but the general consensus is just incalculable.
The numbers you read in the accounts are just staggering. But the event that really shines a light on the mechanism we want to talk about is his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324.
This wasn't just a trip, it was a migration.
He brought 60,000 people with him across the desert.
I mean, just try to imagine that. That's the population of a small modern city moving on foot and camelback, carrying literally tons of gold.
And when this huge caravan gets to Cairo, Musa does something that, on the surface, seems incredibly benevolent. He just starts spending.
And giving. He's handing out gold to the poor, giving it to officials, flooding the markets. He's trying to inject wealth into the system.
He thought he was performing this great act of charity.
But in economic terms, he was basically detonating a bomb.
Because it wasn't just inflation, was it? He effectively deleted the value of their currency.
It's a textbook case of supply and demand, but there's another layer. He also massively increased what's called monetary velocity.
Meaning he put it all into circulation at once.
Immediately. He didn't just bring gold, he made it liquid. And suddenly, gold wasn't rare anymore. And if gold isn't rare in an economy that runs on gold,
It's worthless.
exactly. The sources say prices for bread, milk, basic goods, they just skyrocketed overnight. It's the 14th century version of printing $1 trillion bill and dropping it from a helicopter.
And the damage wasn't temporary.
Oh no, it was structural. The value of gold in Egypt just plummeted. And apparently, it didn't recover for over a decade.
And the irony is he had to borrow money on the way back, right?
The best part, he had to borrow his own gold back at extremely high interest rates just to try and suck that excess supply out of the market.
He caused the crash and then had to become a borrower to fix it. Wow.
So what's fascinating now is looking at how different economic camps today sort of weaponize this story.
It's like a Rorschach test for economists.
It really is. You see the more right-centric, fiscally conservative analysis, and they hold up Musa as the ultimate cautionary tale against handouts.
Their argument being that wealth has to be created, not just distributed.
Right. You can't just decouple money from production. If you give people gold without them making things to buy with it, you just get hyperinflation, a failed welfare state.
But then you've got the left-centric analysis, and they completely flip the script.
They do. They say the act of redistribution itself, the charity, that was a moral good. The failure wasn't the generosity.
It was the system.
The failure was the fragility of an economy that was overly reliant on a single shiny metal. They say it proves we need better systems, not less charity.
And there was that third view in the sources, the Japanese concept,
Motonai.
which is all about waste.
Exactly. This view looks at the gold not as money, but as a resource. And from that perspective, scattering it on the street for immediate consumption, it's a tragedy. That capital could have built infrastructure.
Like irrigation or schools, planting seeds instead of just eating them.
It's a powerful critique of short-term thinking. So Musa's story really teaches us that value itself is incredibly fragile.
Okay, so that's what happens when you treat gold just as a commodity to be spent. Let's shift the lens now, because sometimes gold isn't money at all. Sometimes it's meaning.
And when you confuse those two, well, you get the story of Sir Frederick Hodgson.
A perfect counterpoint to Musa.
Totally. Musa understood the price, but missed the economic mechanics. Hodgson, a British diplomat in 1900, he missed the entire point.
So he's visiting the Ashanti Empire in modern-day Ghana. The British have political control, but Hodgson wants to, really cement his authority, and he knows about the golden stool.
The central symbol of the Ashanti people.
And this is where the cultural blindness just takes over. He hears golden stool, and he thinks...
Throne. He thinks, I'm the guy in charge, I represent the queen, so I should be sitting on the big gold chair.
He actually demanded it.
Yeah.
Publicly. The quote in the notes is something like, "Why am I not sitting on the golden stool at this moment?"
He's treating it like furniture, a status symbol.
But for the Ashanti, it wasn't a chair at all, was it?
Not even close. It was a sacred vessel. It was believed to hold the sunsum, the very souls of the Ashanti nation.
The sources said it had its own chair.
It did. Even the king of the Ashanti never, ever sat on it. He would just sort of sit near it during ceremonies. So when Hodgson demands to park himself on it.
He's not just being rude. He's threatening to effectively crush the soul of their nation.
That's a massive failure to understand what economists call cultural capital.
Explain that.
Cultural capital is when an object's value is completely detached from its material worth. Its value comes from the shared meaning a group assigns to it. Hodgson was trying to buy something that wasn't for sale.
And the result was the War of the Golden Stool.
A literal war. The Ashanti hid the stool and fought to protect it. And here's the thing. The British eventually won the military conflict.
But they never got the stool.
Never. And Hodgson definitely never sat on it. It's such a stark lesson. You can't just appraise gold by its weight. If you ignore the symbolic value, the price you pay is in blood.
Okay, so speaking of what things actually are, we have to get into the science. This part of the research honestly made me look at my wedding ring differently.
You're talking about Cuprividis metallurgirans.
The bacteria with the Midas touch. It disrupts the whole story we tell ourselves about gold being rare and geologic.
Well, the element itself is formed in supernovae and exploding stars, but the actual nuggets we find in the ground, their distribution, that's often biological.
So this bacteria, it lives in soil that's full of toxic heavy metals.
Places that would kill almost anything else. To survive, it ingests these toxic gold compounds, but it can't keep them inside or it would die. So it has this amazing biological process to strip out the toxicity.
And then it excretes the pure metal.
That's right. It excretes solid 24-karat gold.
So it's poop.
Tiny microscopic nuggets of gold poop, essentially. A biological byproduct.
So a lot of the great gold rushes in history, people were just chasing ancient bacterial deposits.
Very likely.
But beyond the wow factor here, the economic threat is actually kind of terrifying for the gold market.
It introduces the idea of disruptive technology to a market that relies entirely on the idea of scarcity. Gold is valuable because it's hard to find and hard to mine.
But if we can scale up the bacteria,
If you can industrialize this process, build giant vats of bacteria that chew through toxic sludge and spit out gold bullion, you completely break the scarcity model.
and if gold becomes as easy to make as, say, aluminum,
Then it's not a store value anymore. It just becomes a shiny, corrosion-resistant metal again. It would be the Mansa Musa effect, but on a global, permanent scale.
that's a very sobering thought for anyone hoarding gold bars in a safe somewhere.
It's a reminder that scarcity is often just a temporary technological problem.
Okay, so speaking of people using science to get rich and failing spectacularly, we have to talk about Fritz Haber.
This story is a genuine tragedy. Haber is a giant of science, a Nobel Prize winner, the Haber-Bosch process for creating synthetic fertilizer.
It's no exaggeration to say half the world is alive today because of his work on nitrogen.
None at all. But after World War I, he turned that incredible mind to a different problem. Germany was just crushed by war reparations.
And Haber, being a patriot, decided he would personally pay it all off.
By mining gold from the ocean.
The logic seems sound, didn't it? I mean, there is dissolved gold in seawater.
There is, and Haber did the calculations. He convinced the government, he outfitted a ship, the Meteor, and he spent years sailing around running these massive centrifuges.
But he made a mistake.
A tiny one on paper, but a catastrophic one in reality. A decimal point error. He based his whole project on old, flawed samples. He thought there were about 65 milligrams of gold per ton of seawater,
And the reality was,
closer to 0.004.
oh wow, orders of magnitude less. But this is where the psychology comes in. He didn't just quit.
No, and this is the sunk cost fallacy in bright flashing lights. He'd staked his reputation on this, the government's money. He kept going, convinced he just needed a better filter, a better process. He couldn't accept the basic premise was wrong.
And you also have the opportunity cost, don't you? One of the greatest chemists of the 20th century, spending years chasing ghosts.
Imagine what else he could have solved in that time. But he was blinded,
Yeah.
and he completely ignored the extraction cost.
This is the rule that breaks most of these grand schemes.
It's the most important rule. It doesn't matter if the gold is there. If it costs you $2 in fuel and labor to extract $1 worth of gold, you're going broke.
It's the gap between science and business. Science asks, can we do it? Business asks, should we do it?
And Haber couldn't bridge that gap. He died without paying off the debt. The project just broke him.
So we've seen gold destroy an economy, a diplomatic relationship, and a scientific career. Let's finish with the story that is maybe the most visceral. The story of Crassus.
Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome, a man who didn't just want wealth, he wanted to extract it from every possible situation.
We have to talk about how he made his money, because it's the absolute definition of rent-seeking.
It is. Rent-seeking is when you make money without creating any new value. You're just taking a bigger slice of someone else's pie. And Crassus, he ran a private fire brigade.
Which sounds like a public service.
But it was a shakedown, a literal one. When a house in Rome caught fire, Crassus and his men would show up with water, but they wouldn't do anything. They'd just stand there.
And watch it burn.
And Crassus would find the weeping homeowner and offer to buy the burning building for a fraction of its value.
Sell it to me for pennies or watch it all turn to ash.
Exactly. If they signed the deed, his men would put out the fire. If not, they'd let it burn to the ground. He held people's homes hostage.
That level of greed tends to make you enemies.
It does. He eventually led a military campaign into Parthia, modern-day Iran, mostly just to plunder it. He was captured. And the legend around his death is, well, it's very specific about the irony.
The molten gold story.
That's the one. The story goes that the Parthian king, knowing Crassus's reputation, his insatiable thirst for gold, ordered molten gold to be poured down his throat.
A gruesome, literal case of you are what you eat.
And supposedly, they then used his severed head as a stage prop in a play. It's a brutal reminder of political risk. If your wealth comes entirely at the expense of everyone around you, eventually the system bites back hard.
Don't be the guy who profits from your neighbor's house fire. Seems like a pretty good rule for life.
It's a solid baseline, yeah.
So when we step back and look at all these stories, Musa, Hodgson, the bacteria, Haber, Crassus, what's the synthesis? It feels like gold is almost never just about the metal itself.
I think you have to look at it through three different lenses. The first is for the policymakers. That's the Mansa Musa lesson.
Gold is only a stabilizer if the supply is predictable.
Exactly. Value comes from the whole ecosystem, not just the rock itself. You can't just print, or in his case, give away your way to prosperity.
Okay, so lens two.
That's for the investors. That's the Fritz Haber story. Always, always calculate the extraction cost. And watch out for disruptive technology like that bacteria. Just because an asset has been valuable for 1,000 years doesn't mean something can't zero it out tomorrow.
And the third lens.
That's for the rest of us, for the crowd, and that's the golden stool and Crassus. Gold is a psychological game. We project everything onto it, our souls, our status, our security.
But it doesn't love us back.
Not at all. Whether it's a sacred object or a liquid weapon, it has this incredible power to make us act completely irrationally.
It's fascinating. In every single one of these stories, we think the person owns the gold. But by the end, the gold always owns the person.
That's the golden madness.
Before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final image. Circling back to that bacteria.
The 24-karat waste product.
Yes. The next time you're walking past a jewelry store, or maybe you look down at a ring on your own finger, just remember, there is a non-zero chance that the shiny, precious, romantic metal you're looking at is actually ancient bug poop.
It's a good reminder that value, at the end of the day, is really just a story we all agree to tell ourselves.
A story we tell ourselves. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
Stay curious and watch those extraction costs. We'll see you on the next deep dive.